was the cabaret.
Yeah, the breathalyzer was the
Cabaret was the best
storyteller, yes.
But
some of your stories, Basil, you know, are marvellous.
I tell you that we saw his mother, we saw, you know, Johnny's mother,
Yes.
a week ago.
Yes.
Lillian was at the post office and she was, I don't know, getting some stamps. and I saw her point to the car, you know, because I was in it, and I didn't even know her. And she's gone from like dark hair to completely like white.
Oh yeah.
And she recognised you. Tell me this though.
Was Johnny an only child?
Who?
Johnny?
No, he had a brother who was, what, about 4 years older than him. And then he had a sister, Johnny. And then his sister was about 14.
But you only bothered with Johnny?
Yes, I don't know why, because he was...
Tell me this, Basil. You were here in Jersey though. When did you come over? Before the war, wasn't it?
36.
36. So you must have some tales to tell of the Germans.
Oh yeah, I could, yeah.
Now it sounds to me now that you've gone a bit softer on them, because when I was over here last 20 odd years ago and you were talking about them, you were not very well disposed to them. I mean, would you say you've changed or what?
No, I've not changed, no, because they didn't ill-treat us.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm very grateful. You see, what I've got to look at is, if, I don't care who they are, I mean, if you're the biggest rat in the world, and you do me a really, really good turn, then no one's going to call you to me.
Yes, yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, that's fair.
No one, I'm going to say, well, I don't know what he did with you, I know what I think.
Yes,
I wouldn't have my 3 girls, but for the Germans. I mean, I don't like Nazis.
Didn't
I know time for Nazis. I mean, to me, I think they stopped bombing Germany too quick.
Yes.
But the ones we had here were not Nazis. Everyone will tell you that. When Lillian goes to town shopping, she comes back, well, dozens of times, and says, oh, I met someone this morning, Baz.
Yeah.
You know, and I said, you want to talk to my hubby? And they were saying, we wish the Germans were back here. That's true, Lillian.
Very true.
Yeah, wish the Germans were back
here. What's the story of the soup? Do you remember that one? The soup?
Oh no, that was Herman. We had this, when the Germans came here, they took all the sort of, if you can call us the cream of the mechanics, and they put us all into one garage.
Yes.
That was it's now the Cleveland garage, which is the Morris agents now. And when we went there, we had a Colonel Schultz, is the one, the German that I admired. He was in charge, and of course he had about 5 or 6 German engineers working in this garage, and about 12 locals, calling myself a local. And amongst these 6 Germans was this chap Herman.
Right.
The biggest bloody know-all I've ever met in my life. No. And we reckoned him up and he must have been about 140 odd years old. Well, it's true. It didn't matter what you talked about. If you met like, a motorbike come in, one of the, you know, the motorbike with the machine gun on the sidecar.
Right.
Well, there were only a few of us that could work on those. And no matter what you were doing on it, he worked on them. Didn't matter if you were amending a puncture, he always used to be voor dem Krieg. In other words, before the war.
Yes.
You see? And he used to start off voor dem Krieg, and he'd always worked there, and we, like say he'd worked 10, 12, 14 years, we reckoned him up, like where he'd worked, and he 140 years old then, and he was only about 30, 35, you see, but it didn't matter what you did, he knew better. And I finished up with putting him in hospital in the end. I mean, not by hitting him, but it didn't matter what you were talking about, he'd interfere with it. He'd come and interfere, and we had to make this wood gas, Holtz gas, because there's no petrol.
Right.
So they used to have these lorries with these big sort of cylinders on.
Yeah.
You know, with like a cylinder, just a cylinder. And they used to take the top off, lift it up, and then they used to put pieces of wood about that big and about that long, dried wood, into it, and then started up burning it, and of course the gas off it drove the engine.
Right.
So, well, we were the first ones to make those.
We made
them. Yeah, we made those. Yeah, wood gas burners.
I've never heard of them.
But to get them going, I mean, this is how we like led up to Herman, because I mean Herman sort of suddenly appeared one day. You know, it's always the first time you see a person, and so Herman appears, and we get like records. You couldn't have any music because I mean you didn't have electric like we've got now. You had needles, no gramophone
Yeah,
needles.
that's right.
Wind
Yes,
up.
yes, yes.
Wind up.
Yeah.
Well, you'd no needles, so you couldn't. If you did, if you found a record, you couldn't play it because you got no needles. So Herman, you could butter Herman, but you couldn't drive him to do it. But you could butter him up. Well, I soon dropped to it. You know that I used to sort of praise him to the high heaven, and you could actually see his chest coming out. You know, I used to, you know, sort of say to him. I mean, he did. I knew more of my little finger than he knew altogether. But I sort of go and chatting to him. Well, he trusted me so much that he used to call them all scoundrels down the garage, and he used to say, "But for you, that was me. You know, for
Everybody
you,
but you.
give me a couple of cigarettes." You see. Anyway, and it didn't matter what he got. I pinched, and that is true. I pinched it. It didn't matter what he had. I pinched it. But he kept giving me cigarettes to go round the garage and find out who'd stolen it. It's true. Hey, Dickie Stokes told you that, didn't he? Anyway, well, to talk the real story about Herman, when in about, say, 43 and a half, things got very, very difficult for us as regards food. And the girls used to go to bed at night, I mean, really crying with stomachache.
Hungry.
Well, it was hungry. But what they used to eat my bread, and I only had a £4 a week piece of bread, like a loaf. So, Herman, I think the first thing I ever did with Herman was, he arrived one day with one of these milk churns, took it out the back of the car. Now, he must have been to some farm and done a deal with him. Swapped something, because he got this churn full of milk. And he carted it through the room. I had a room, say, about as big as this, with all the appliances that they'd taken from other garages. Are you with me?
Yes, indeed.
To concentrate them in this. It was marvellous.
Yeah,
now, I could do jobs that I couldn't do them today because I haven't got the tattle.
No,
but I had them there.
Yes.
You name it, I had it. You with me? I could rewind, coils, anything you wanted, I could do it in that shop.
Electric arc welding.
Yeah,
Basil.
everything, you name it, we could do it.
Basil,
And if I couldn't do
what
it,
about the soup?
yes, I don't. Well, this is how I came to know about the soup.
Yeah.
Well, he came in this day and he got this churn full of milk. Now he now takes it upstairs into where the colonel that was in charge of the whole place had the flat, and he was pouring this milk into the bath. You see, and then when he poured it in, there's quite a lot of milk there, and then he was, you know, ladling out of it, you know, as he wanted it bit by bit, so the churn could go back.
Didn't have a bath, but he had
But when
milk.
I found that he had this milk, all this milk, I mean milk, well, the girls were allowed 1/3 of a pint of milk a day. Well, to be able to have milk, I mean, wow. So, I asked him for some milk, but, you know, not for the Englishman. You know, that was the only answer I got. Not for the Englishman, not for the Englishman. And so, I mean, I got used to him that way. Well, one day, as the winter came on, I mean, with us having no grub, it didn't take you long to get cold.
No, exactly.
So what did you do with the milk?
Eh?
What did you
No,
do?
I'll tell you about the milk.
I
so-
know what you did with the milk.
Yeah. Anyway, so first of all, I sort of lost my temper to myself, if you like. I mean, not with it because it was his milk, not mine. The girl that worked in the shop at the side of the garage, it was a chemist shop, and I went and asked her, "Have you got any essence of rennet?" You know what
Oh,
rennet
yes,
does,
yes,
don't you?
yes, of
Sours
course.
the milk.
It
Yes,
curdles
sours
milk.
it.
Oh, I see.
Sours
It
it.
curdles it.
I wouldn't know
So
that.
she, yes, she had some. So I said, "Can you give me some?" So she gave me a bottle of it. So I sneaked upstairs into the bathroom, and there was all this a bath about 1/3 full of milk with all the lovely cream on the top. And Herman, you see, used to scrape the top off. You see, so he had this
Yeah.
thick, lovely cream because they were as hungry as we were. But when I went up there, I mean, I poured this rennet in. Well, about an hour later, when Herman eventually came through, of course I knew he was on his way upstairs, and I'd be doing some work, and it was as though like there was an explosion. Oh, the shots of fuel, you know, oh, you know,
He got cheese, he got cream cheese.
clotting
instead
him,
of
you know, and all the rest of it. And of course I'd go in the hall and I'd shout up, "Are you alright? Are you alright? You alright, Herman?" You know, his best friend.
Yeah.
"You alright, Herman?" "Yeah." "Yeah," I said, "Come, you know, come on up here." And I went up.
What was in it?
I said, "Well, what is it? You know, what is it?" He said, "It's milk." I said, "That's not milk."
Milk.
You know, as though like I didn't know.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, what's it thick like that for?" "Oh, shies, you know, this, that, you know." So, of course, that was the first lot. Well, and then I think his next thing he brought in one day, well, I'll tell you, it got very, very cold. So our colonel allowed us, we had a little sort of wooden partition place off about 12 feet long by about 8 feet wide, say, in the corner down the bottom of the garage, where we could sit in there, you know, for a rest, because we had no work to do.
Yeah, I see.
And they allowed us around a 5-gallon drum that we took the top off and knocked
Some
holes
holes
in it. That's it, and stood it up on some
A
bricks.
brazier.
And we used, yeah, a brassiere.
Brazier.
And, anyway, and of course, so we had a fire going. And it was quite nice, you know, because I tell you only had to touch the metal and you were frozen. Because
Yeah.
no food.
Of course, yeah.
So,
Stamina.
one day we're sat in there, when who should arrive but Herman, you see. And he's got a rabbit.
Herman the German.
He's got a rabbit, you see. A dead one, a dead rabbit.
Yeah.
And he's like holding this up for everyone to see. Well, I mean, your mouth started getting wet at seeing the rabbit. I mean,
Das ist sehr gut zu essen. Ja.
Yeah.
and so, of course, he went outside and on the bench and chopped, you know, took the head off and took this off and skinned it,
What do you mean took this
cleaned
off?
it up.
What's
And then
this?
he comes back in with a pot, you know, with a big
Yeah, it's your
pot.
imagination.
With a big pot. And, oh, I don't know, he'd been and got on leeks, you know,
Carrots
all the
and
stuff from the,
yes,
from
yes.
the, you know, from the farm. I suppose he'd given cigarettes for them or something.
Mhm.
And so he starts making a stew
Yeah.
with this rabbit.
Lovely.
Well, I mean, the smell, I mean, because don't forget now, we're
hungry.
ravished. I mean, we're so hungry, this wasn't true.
I thought you said you were rabbits.
And the smell of this, you know, the smell, it was gorgeous. And we kept like having a look at it, you know, and, you know, I mean,
Sniffing
but
it.
he kept coming in having a look, make sure we weren't touching it, you see. And then I said, like halfway through it, I said to him, "Are you gonna give us some of this, Herman?" Because he could speak, I would say, 50%. You could understand, you could hold a conversation.
Yeah.
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 I said, "Are we gonna have some?"
Nine.
No,
Not
No,
for the English.
not for the Englishman.
Nicht-
Oh,
nicht
not
for
for the
the-
Englishman. Not for the
Nicht
Englishman.
verdu.
Oh, I said, "Come on." No. So, when we knew it was getting near cooked, you know, I don't know how long they've been on, I said to one of the chap, this photograph in the paper the other day, at LeBrock. I said to this chap at LeBrock, I said, "Do you know," I said, "he's a miserable sod and I think him over." I said, "He could give us a bit of that, but not about a panful about that big." And I'm thinking, gosh, wouldn't it have been marvellous to take some of this home, you know, for the girls.
Yeah.
So, now, you know, we had a lot of horses.
Mhm.
A lot of horses. They were used horses more than cars.
Yes.
So you can imagine how much horse muck was knocking around.
Rather.
Well, and this is true. I mean, I'm not just making this story up. It's true, because Lillian has met the people that you know, was with me, and so we went out and we collected some horse muck, and shoveled it in,
Fresh.
shovel the horse muck in, and give it to stir up. You see,
That's what you call khaki keffel.
and of course in between, Herman's coming in to see everything's all right and to give it a stir, and telling me how it's thickening up. It's getting thicker. You see? No, and of course when he jiggered off out again, because he had to go right up the other end of the garage if he was working on the lathe, and we were all weeing in it. Spent a penny in it. And
Would have said you'd only would have given you some after all.
oh, but wait a minute, no, you're jumping to conclusions.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, and so, and well, I mean, now the smell of it now was terrible. It wasn't a bit appetising, and eventually he kept coming back, until the thing we put grease in it. a tin of grease, you know, for a hob,
Yeah.
a scoop full of that, and we put that in and mix it up. And then Herman was telling us how good it was for you. That was the goodness of it. There's all this grease on the top. See, saying how good it was for you.
A fatty rabbit.
And so, of course, it was all when it was all finished, when he came in, I said, I think it's finished now, Herman. I said, are you going to give us some of it? No, I said, not for the Englishman, not for the Englishman. And anyway, so we didn't get any, so off he went, you know, with a couple of rags, and he picked it up and carried it out, and off he went. Well, about 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour later, I'm walking through the garage to go into my room. Like I've just told you, I had a big room like this, no one else was allowed in it. Only I was allowed in it, so that if anything was missing, I'd be responsible.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, not because I was anyone.
No.
Anyway, I'm going into my room, when Herman shouts me, come. So I went over, and he's a jar, screwed
Yeah.
top on a
Very
big
good
stuff.
soup, my
He said,
friend.
hey, for the kinder. Cool. Talk about the bite bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I lost it.
bet you could have been sick.
I would have given him a hand for that.
Yes, I'm
Just
sure.
to take it on for the
Yes.
girls.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, how terrible.
Give me a down.
Did he not complain about the taste or the flavour of it?
But
Yeah,
he was,
probably did he eat it?
who?
Herman.
Yes,
He
there was
didn't
a,
complain.
no, it was marvellous. He did, he told
And that-
him that, yeah,
And that's the story of the and that's the story of the soup.
eh?
That's the story.
Yeah, but I
Hold
said
on,
about
but
these
that's
bicycles. These
but that's another story.
These
Okay.
bicycles that I'm talking about. This motorbike came in this morning.
Hold on, Basil.
Yeah.
That's another story.
Oh,
Well, another link shot. Another day.